think about it just for a second. You have a soda with an apple pie flavor. You have a tall, cool one in front of you with some ice cubes, and in it is strawberry jalapeno soda. And the soda is made by a Chattanooga company. Pure Soda Works, in fact, is the manufacturer of those two and two other amazing flavors, apple pie and cafe cola. This is a Noogacentric story, a Noogacentric business told by Matt Rogers, who is the founder with two partners of Pure Soda Works LLC. And the news here at this local company is that a regional buyer, a regional restaurant, the Cracker Barrel chain, has entered a PO, a purchase order, for a vast number of cases of these soda. Matt Rogers, tell my listener what your company's all about and why this is so exciting to have a major restaurant chain make a big buy from your local Noogacentric cola outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I and a friend, Sean Klaus, we started Pure Soda Works back in 2011. For my wife and I, we've been huge fans of pure cane sugar sodas for years and years and years. And for a long time, we kept on waiting for something that was honest and transparent to come on the market, and it just really never did.
Honest and transparent? What does that mean?
Well, just,
flavor?
not use
a word for flavor or a word for marketing?
It tastes like honesty. No, you look at the ingredients panel of a soda and you see things like natural flavors, or you see all these things you can't pronounce, sodium benzoate. What are those things? What are they in there for? Sometimes they're there for preservatives. Sometimes it's there to, hide what the other ingredients are that are making the flavors. And what we wanted to do was break that down and actually start making sodas the way they were made 100 years ago. So that's what we did, because nobody else was really doing it. And in 2011, we started brewing sodas and selling them down at the Chattanooga market through a little mobile soda fountain that we built from a table that we got at Costco, literally. We got it health department approved, and we started selling our sodas by the glass in a little refillable mug down at the Chattanooga market every Sunday on July 4th, 2011 is when we started that.
So soda has become more complicated, the list of ingredients longer over the decades.
Absolutely.
How was soda initially conceived? Was Coca-Cola, well, Coca-Cola has a Chattanooga origin. Was that conceived here? And what were the advantages that it had at the beginning that you're now trying to restore in your brand, Matt Rogers?
Yeah. So, these days, most people, when they think of soda, they think of junk food. There's all these laws being passed about the sugar content and trying to combat the obesity epidemic. But originally, you go back 100 years and you have soda is actually medicine. You got it at pharmacies. The original soda fountains were, they were patent medicines. They had all these herbs and spices that were blended and mixed up. They added a little bit of sugar to help the medicine go down. And what you had was a delicious beverage that actually had some health benefits. But the thing is that, and it happens every time there's something that's really good that comes on the market, the big movers and shakers, they start coming in and they say, hey, we can make a buck off of this. And they start to, they oftentimes they can start off well, using the same types of ingredients, but then they're going to start saying, okay, well, where can we cut corners? Where can we make it to where we're making more money? Where can we, start to, expand our profits while, kind of maintaining the spirit of the actual product? You extrapolate that out over 100 years and you end up where we are today, where you have a list of ingredients 5 miles long that you can't even read, and you don't know what's in this drink that you're drinking. And so we wanted to combat that. We created something that you could look at the label and you could see exactly what was going into your body. It's all of our ingredients are listed right out on every bottle. With our apple pie soda, we use fresh pressed apple cider, cinnamon, vanilla, cane sugar, and carbonated water. That's all that's in it. It doesn't actually have to have artificial preservatives. There's a preserving factor in the apple cider through acidity.
Well, why are preservatives in there in the first place? If this is something that is bottled, there's a little bit of vacuum pressure in there, right? Is that not enough of a preservative to maintain a shelf life of a month or 2 or 3?
So here's the funny thing. A lot of these ingredients have natural antioxidants. They have the acidity that's necessary to keep something safe over time. You take all of those actual real natural ingredients out and you replace them with artificial flavor oils. Well, there's nothing in those flavor oils that has any kind of preserving factor. So the original ingredients would have. You take those out, and now you've got to put something back in that's going to preserve it. And a lot of times it's sodium benzoate because that's cheap. or a potassium sorbate, because that's also cheap. And those are both artificial preservatives that, there's been a lot of studies that have come out, scientific analyses that show that they're not the best things to put into our body. And so again, we use the citric acid and the natural acids in the fruits and the other ingredients that we use in order to keep that so that it is preserved without having to add those artificial preservatives back in.
We're talking with Matt Rogers. This is David Tulis. Thanks for joining us here. We cover local economy and the free markets in Chattanooga and beyond. And our argument that you should love your neighbor and buy local is one that you can actually act upon today by trying, at least somewhere, the Pure Soda Works soda. Now, Matt, you're talking about Cracker Barrel having placed a big order. You have met them at the Lebanon headquarters, Lebanon, Tennessee headquarters, and made arrangements, and they're impressed with you and your company and your product. What about access to your 4 flavors thus far in Chattanooga? Where can they be found? Where can they be asked for?
Sure. So we actually are in the process of getting our product back out on the market. Last year, we had a number of roadblocks, and by and large, our product basically came off the market. Our machine stopped producing a quality product. The glass supply went away. So whereas a year ago, there were a lot of places around town you could have gotten it, right now, there's actually fewer places. We've got Clumpy's Ice Cream carries it. We got the Hot Chocolatier down on Market Street. They're carrying it. Taqueria Jalisco downtown also is carrying it. We've got Two Sons Kitchen and Market on Martin Luther King. They're carrying it. That's about it right now. Of course, come next February, we're going to add 648 locations to that list because all of the Cracker Barrels nationwide in 44 states are going to be carrying all of our or 2 of our sodas, Apple Pie and Cafe Cola.
So it's not really fair to call it a regional player, Cracker Barrel.
No. They are a national company. It's a lot of people don't realize. I mean, they go all the way out west. And so we that process was really interesting as well, because we were in the midst of this scenario where we didn't really have a bottling solution earlier this year. We were reformulating a couple things, retooling our branding, but we didn't really have a very super clear path forward. And that's actually when, and I haven't even really talked to you about this, but we joined the Company Labs Fall Accelerator, and we decided that we wanted to get with them and examine how can we take this business and really scale it up. They have a lot of services, and they're all free. Access to accountants and lawyers and bankers in order to help kind of break down a business and figure out what's the best path forward.
So explain the idea of scaling up from our listener, Matt Rogers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, whenever we were making our sodas one at a time, for thirsty customers down to the Chattanooga market, that's very labor intensive and it's very expensive. Ultimately, if you want to have a business that's going to grow, that's going to scale, you do have to start making larger purchases. That's how you save money. Now, the tricky part, and the cart before the horse is, well, we don't want to buy a ton of ingredients and things in order to save money whenever we don't have those sales. And so the job for us was to get those sales going so that we could, kind of chase that with our purchasing in order to save money rather than, compromising the actual product itself in order to make more money.
Well, one essential part of your business is having a bottle, and then many bottles. Where have you had to go to get a bottler? There are many of them in Chattanooga.
Right. So, there's a lot of really big players in Chattanooga. Finding somebody that was more on the craft soda side was a little bit of a challenge. We did end up working with one out of North Carolina. There are regional small soda bottlers all throughout the country. These guys that have these legacy machines that have decided that they're going to make these legacy brands and the pure cane sugar brands and keep them on the market. And there's a huge resurgence and interest in those flavors and those old-timey type of sodas that we kind of caught that wave right whenever we were getting started as well.
I think immigrants in the Chattanooga area, Matt Rogers of Pure Soda Works, will really like hearing about your product because they buy sugarcane Coke and other drinks at the Lowest Grocery and other places like that, which have a much better flavor than the high fructose corn syrup. What's the difference between those two sugars? They are both natural sugars, right? Both natural sweeteners, right?
Well, so high fructose corn syrup is definitely a chemically derived version of a sweetener, and we can go way deep into that whole scenario of how we ended up with all this high fructose corn syrup flooding the market, going back to corn subsidies and sugar embargoes and everything else that goes back hundreds of years. But we won't get into that right now. What's good to know, though, is that while chemically they're both sugar, high fructose corn syrup is definitely a chemically modified sugar, and it's used because it's cheap, not because it tastes better and not because it's better for you or natural. And so absolutely, for me and for a lot of consumers, though they are chemically identical, because what they've done with the high fructose, because regular cane sugar is a combination of sucrose and fructose, and corn syrup is, I believe it's just sucrose. So they chemically alter it to increase the fructose levels in order to make it match cane sugar. In terms of flavor profile, however, there's something lost in the mix. Because whenever you have one of the Mexican Cokes made with pure cane sugar next to a domestically bottled one that uses high fructose corn syrup, most people can tell the difference in the flavor.
I'm sure George Loa at Lois Grocery would love to meet you, Matt Rogers, because you have pure sugar cane soda. Well, just give my listener a number here. An ounce of pure sugar cane is how much more expensive than an ounce of the same material used in the same number of bottles, let's say, of your soda? I mean, is it five times more, 10 times more?
So here's the really funny.
How is it really different?
Here's the really funny thing. It really isn't all that different. You're talking about pennies, and whenever you get into the mass scale, you're talking about fractions of pennies. Now, whenever you're producing billions of units, though, all of a sudden those fractions of pennies add up, and they're millions of dollars. And so that's where that comes in. But it's not like, sugar is 10 times more expensive than high fructose corn syrup. It's pennies, it's fractions of pennies. But, those fractions of pennies, they count on a company's bottom line, especially a global company's bottom line. And
well, to my listener about your person, Matt Rogers, you're married, you're 38 years old, you live in Harrison. You're married to a wonderful woman named Tiffany. She's your partner. Then you mentioned the other partner in your business, Pure Soda Works, Sean Klaus. How did you decide to get into this business? What were you doing before? What made you change your mind that you could take this risk of consuming your whole life now this Pure Soda Works company?
Yeah.
Where did you come from, and how did you make that change into capitalism and entrepreneurship?
So my wife and I actually started a business back in about 2007 that we called Everyday Eclectic, because we had both been
Everyday Eclectic.
Yeah. We had both been hobbyists. I made soap and she made candles. And we started making those commercially and going down again to the Chattanooga market and various other festivals and events. And we had a little website, because I was actually, at the time, I was a full-time web developer and graphic designer. And I continued to do that throughout that process. We were creating products, putting them out there just to see how it went. Over those few years between 2007 and 2011, we picked up on something that we realized that whenever we go to these shows, everybody's got to eat. We even had a little inside joke that food always wins. No matter what, you go to Kettner's Mill and the funnel cake line is long all day long. So we kind of picked up on that, and we started saying, what's something that we could do that fits in our wheelhouse? That's something that's along the lines of what we're already doing. We had this love of pure cane sugar soda, and we started looking into the history of it and realized that this idea of blending herbs and spices and making it the way it used to be made fit in perfectly with what we were already doing with soaps and candles and everything else, using, again, all natural, real ingredients. And so that's how we had the idea for Pure Soda Works. We brought on, at the time then, we were running that business. And then I was working full-time for the Chattanooga Convention and Visitors Bureau, helping to market Chattanooga to outside tourists and convention groups. And so that kind of, between those two things, my hands were full, my wife's hands were full. And we brought on a friend of ours, Sean Klaus, that we had met along the way. And he had a little bit of experience with brewing beer and with carbonation and things like that. So we thought, hey, this is kind of a perfect timing to bring him on board. And he kind of helped us get everything set up, and he just jumped in with guns blazing, both feet. And it was really quick. Between 2011 and 2012, we realized we really got something here. We did a Kickstarter, which allowed us to, and if you're not, are you
how familiar? Much was raised in that?
So we raised $22,000 through our Kickstarter campaign, which allowed us to get the bottling machine and get up and running with an actual bottle product just about a year after we actually launched the company in 2011. So we went from serving it by the glass And let me tell you, there's no better market research than people paying you for the product. We didn't have focus groups. We didn't have, we didn't do taste tests with tons of people. We made the products. We went down to the Chattanooga market and we said, here you go. Tell us what you think. And what we learned really quickly was that people are going to be honest. And if you listen to that feedback, then you're going to be able to get the information that you need to know, okay, these are the products. By the time we were done selling sodas, we knew which ones we needed to bottle. I mean, selling sodas down at the market because
which ones did you reject, or which one did you reject? Of your lot.
We have made many sodas. We did one of our first ones was a kind of an interesting one. It was a mint chocolate cream soda. Yeah, it was really good, but it didn't look very pretty. So we also made a cucumber wasabi soda at one point, which was again really tasty, cleaned out your sinuses, but not really commercially viable. I mean, you gotta listen to what people want. By the time we were ready to start bottling, there was a lineup of sodas that people would be angry at us if we didn't have those available. So those were the ones that we.
So you have apple pie, you have cafe cola, rosemary lemonade is one of your, and then you have a last one, the oddball, strawberry jalapeno soda. Really?
Yeah, no, seriously. You think about pepper jelly. It's that combining of sweet and spicy, and that one was actually Sean's idea. He had this candy from Mexico that was strawberry jalapeno. And he told us about it, told me and Tiffany about it, and we thought, hey, that sounds delicious. Why don't we try making it as a soda?
What kind of capital investment have you had? Did you have to borrow? Did you use family capital or outside friends who let you ride shotgun on their money for a time? How have you funded your operation apart from sales?
Yeah, so that's actually the really neat part. We have bootstrapped the whole way. We've had a little bit of family support, and of course we had the Kickstarter. But like whenever we had the original idea to build a cart and go out to the Chattanooga market, a lot of people, and even whenever I talked to some of the local regulators, they kind of told me, well, this is what you need this and that and this and that, and it's going to be really expensive. We spent $1,000 total coming up with our original ingredients and building a cart and all the licensing, the health department regulations, everything we covered for about $1,000. And that allowed us to get out there and start selling sodas and start making money. Then we ran the Kickstarter campaign, got the machine that we needed. And so while we've had a little bit of capital here and there from, mostly from family, that's been the story. It's really been bootstrapped along the way.
So you haven't liquidated your 401k? Or do you have a 401k? Or did you have a 401k?
What's a 401k? There are definitely sacrifices to entrepreneurship. You don't necessarily get to go on every big vacation that you want to. You're working all the time. Whenever you're not working, you're still working.
Is my listener well off? Is my listener blessed, Matt Rogers of Pure Soda Works, to be in Chattanooga? Is there really a strong entrepreneurial culture here, or does it just look that way because it's constantly covered in the Times Free Press?
No, there really is. Our facility is down at the Business Incubator on the North Shore. That's been in business, I believe, since the early 80s. They have been providing a space for people and small businesses to come in and set up shop and develop their business idea for a very cheap rent and a lot of resources as well in order to get something going. And there's been tons, dozens and hundreds of graduates from that program. And then we have the company lab as well. So there's a huge focus on that from both local leadership and business leaders.
My investor listener has a question for you, Matt Rogers, and it's this: what if you had a lot of capital from him? How much would it be, and what would you do with it?
Since we have the Cracker Barrel deal, and that's definitely our focus, our going into more of a brand management shift for us is the next step. That's the job for 2018. It's taking the products that we have and getting the word out now. We suddenly have a stage with Cracker Barrel, and now we're ready to start really promoting it. Of course, we're not going to stop at Cracker Barrel. Our next step after that is going to be talking to places like, possibly Publix or Kroger, Whole Foods, getting it into more locations. And then with that comes the marketing and the PR to bolster those sales as well. So that's where, money goes from this point, because, when you have the purchase order, getting the money to produce it isn't the problem. It's getting the money to promote it.
This is David Tulis. You are tuning in to the all-new Nooga Radio, 92.7 and 95.3 FM HD4, Chattanooga's new favorite home for news and talk. And we're talking with Matt Rogers, Pure Soda Works. How can my listener find out more about you, Matt?
Go to puresodaworks.com. Follow us on social media. Pure Soda Works on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And come see us or find our sodas at Clumpy's and Two Sons and Cracker Barrel starting in February 22nd.
Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This is David Tulis, and we are hearing about a Noogacentric cola using pure sugarcane, a reform in the soda line, if you will, that will be met with welcome taste buds among our many immigrants who like sugarcane sodas, and among people like you, my listener, who want maybe the better things in life. $2 a bottle, is that the price?
It's $2 to $3, depending on the retailer.
David Tulis, Nooga Radio. Now, I've got some important messages, and we are brought to you by Nooganomics.com. Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters that looks into the deep state, even here in Tennessee, and suggests ways of getting past it, getting around it. David Tulis, love your neighbor and buy local.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM.